They say every man gets what he deserves. I built a $1 billion empire, had everything a man could want. A brilliant wife, beautiful children, respect. Then I threw it all away for a 23-year-old blonde who smiled at me in a hotel bar. Now, I'm watching my ex-wife become everything I lost. If you've ever made a mistake you couldn't take back, hit that like button right now. And subscribe because this story gets worse before it gets better. And you won't believe where karma finds me. Trust me, you'll want to see how this ends. My name is Devin Mitchell. I'm 52 years old, and I'm sitting alone in a penthouse that cost me $8 million. The view of Manhattan is breathtaking. The silence is deafening. And my phone screen is lighting up with photos of my ex-wife living her best life while I'm drowning in regret. But let me start from the beginning, back when I had everything and was too stupid to know it. 26 years ago, I met Lydia Robertson in a college library. I was a cocky business student with big dreams and empty pockets. She was an architecture major with a sketch pad full of buildings that looked like art. I knocked over her coffee, trying to impress her, and somehow she gave me her number anyway. That woman saw something in me when I was nothing. She believed in me before I believed in myself. We got married 2 years later in a small ceremony neither of us could afford. My suit was borrowed. Her dress was from a consignment shop. But when she looked at me that day, I felt like the richest man alive. We moved into a cramped apartment in Brooklyn, ate ramen more nights than I care to admit, and she worked as a junior architect while I hustled to get my real estate business off the ground. Those were hard years, but they were good years. We were building something together. Lydia wasn't just my wife. She was my partner in every sense of the word. When I landed my first commercial development deal, I was going to hire some big-name architect. Lydia looked at me and said, "Let me design it." I hesitated, not because I doubted her talent, but because mixing business with marriage felt risky. She spent 3 weeks creating something extraordinary. That building became iconic in downtown Brooklyn. People still photograph it, and that's when I realized my wife wasn't just brilliant. She was my secret weapon. Over the next 20 years, we built an empire together. I handled the deals, the investors, the negotiations. She designed the vision, the structures that made my properties stand out in a crowded market. We had twin daughters, Nia and Jade, and watched them grow up in a mansion in Connecticut that Lydia designed herself. We threw charity galas. We sat on boards. We were the couple people envied. And somewhere in all that success, I started taking her for granted. The poison was slow, so slow I didn't notice it spreading. Business dinners ran later and later. I stopped asking about her day. When she'd talk about her work, I'd scroll through my phone. Our anniversary? I canceled our trip to Paris 3 times for crucial deals. I can still see the hurt in her eyes when I called from the office to say I couldn't make it home for her birthday dinner. She said it was fine, but her voice cracked. I told myself I'd make it up to her later. I never did. Then came the crisis. 50 years old, staring at myself in the mirror one morning, and suddenly I felt invisible, old, irrelevant. I saw young guys in my office with their energy and their full heads of hair, and I felt this panic rising in my chest. My wife was brilliant, but she was also serious, responsible, real. She knew all my flaws, all my insecurities. And in my twisted mind, I started thinking I needed someone who didn't know the man I used to be, someone who only saw the billionaire I'd become. That's when I met Brittany Parker. Miami, real estate gala, open bar. She was a marketing assistant for one of my competitors. 23 years old, blonde hair, bright smile. She laughed at my jokes like they were the funniest things she'd ever heard. She touched my arm when she talked. She made me feel like I was 30 again, like I was exciting and powerful and desired. And I was pathetic enough to believe it was real. The affair started small, drinks after a conference, then dinner, then a hotel room I paid for in cash. I bought a burner phone like some cliched movie villain. I told myself it wasn't serious, that it was just an escape, that I still loved my wife. But every time Brittany texted me, I felt this rush. She didn't ask me about quarterly reports or college funds. She sent me selfies and told me I was amazing. She was spontaneous where Lydia was planned, carefree where Lydia was thoughtful. I compared them constantly, And in my delusional state, Brittany always won. For 6 months, I lived a double life. Family man at home, lovesick fool in hotel rooms across 3 states. I justified it in 1,000 ways. I worked hard. Didn't I deserve some happiness? Marriage had gotten stale, hadn't it? Lydia was so busy with her own career, would she even notice? The mental gymnastics I performed to excuse my betrayal could have won Olympic gold. But Lydia noticed everything. She always had. One evening, I came home to find her sitting at our kitchen table with hotel receipts, credit card statements, and printouts of texts I thought I'd deleted. She wasn't crying, she wasn't yelling. She just looked at me with this expression I'll never forget. Disappointment mixed with a resolve that terrified me. "How long?" she asked. Her voice was steady, calm, which somehow made it worse. I stammered, tried to lie, but she cut me off. "Don't insult me further. I know about Brittany. I know about all of it." The way she said that girl's name with such disdain made me feel smaller than I'd ever felt. I expected screaming, thrown plates, drama. Instead, Lydia spoke with devastating clarity. "I built you, Devin. When you had nothing, I stood beside you. When your deals fell through, I held you together. When you needed designs that would set you apart, I gave you my talent, my vision, my time. And this is how you repay me? With some child who sees dollar signs when she looks at you." I should have fallen to my knees. I should have begged. I should have fought for the woman who'd given me everything. Instead, I said the words that destroyed my life. "Maybe I need something different. Maybe we've grown apart." Even as I said it, I knew it was cowardice dressed up as honesty. Lydia stood up, and I'll never forget what she said next. "You're going to lose everything, Devin. Not because I'll take it from you, but because you never understood that I was the foundation. Without me, you're just a mediocre man with money." Then she gave me an ultimatum. Choose her or choose Brittany. Choose our family or choose my ego. I chose Brittany. God help me, I chose Brittany. The divorce was brutal. Lydia's lawyers were sharks, and she deserved every penny. She'd earned it, building my empire alongside me. But I fought her anyway, tried to protect my assets, dragged her name through the mud. My daughter stopped speaking to me. Nia sent me one text that still burns. "You destroyed our family for a woman barely older than us. Don't call me." Jade blocked me entirely. Lydia walked away with $400 million, the respect of everyone who mattered, and her dignity intact. I married Brittany 6 months later in a ceremony that cost $500,000 and felt emptier than our courthouse wedding. The honeymoon phase lasted exactly 8 weeks. Then reality crashed in like a wrecking ball. Brittany's credit card bills started arriving. $200,000 a month on designer clothes, jewelry, spa treatments. When I asked her to cut back, she pouted and said I was being cheap. Cheap. Me. A billionaire. But to her, I wasn't a person. I was an ATM with a pulse. Our conversations, if you could call them that, were painfully shallow. She had no interest in my business, my history, my passions. She couldn't name a single building Lydia had designed. She didn't care. When I tried to talk about a major deal, she'd yawn and scroll through Instagram. She wanted to go clubbing with people half our age. She complained that I was boring, too serious, too old. The same maturity that came with my success was now my biggest flaw in her eyes. I'd catch her flirting with younger men at parties, laughing too loud, touching their arms the way she once touched mine. When I confronted her, she'd accuse me of being jealous and controlling. And maybe I was, because I was starting to realize what Lydia already knew. This girl never loved me. She loved what I represented, the lifestyle, the status, the money. I was a means to an end. Meanwhile, my business started crumbling. Without Lydia's architectural genius, my new developments were generic, uninspired. I lost 3 major contracts in 1 year. Projects I greenlit failed spectacularly. My partners, the ones who'd respected our team, started questioning my judgment. One of them actually said to me, "You were better when Lydia was around." The company's stock dropped 18%. My reputation, built over decades, was disintegrating. Then came the final betrayal. I came home early from a business trip and heard voices upstairs. Brittany and my 28-year-old business associate in my bed in my house. When I confronted them, she didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. She said I was never home, that I was boring, that he made her feel alive. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same excuse I'd used on Lydia was now being used on me. The second divorce cost me another $50 million. Brittany did a tell-all interview with a tabloid, calling me desperate, controlling, and boring in bed. That article has millions of views. My humiliation was public, complete, and deserved. But here's where karma became an artist. While my life fell apart, Lydia's flourished in ways that haunt me daily. She launched her own architectural firm, and within 2 years it became one of the most respected in the industry. She designed a revolutionary sustainable housing project that won international awards. Forbes featured her. Architectural Digest called her a visionary. She gave a TED Talk that has 12 million views about building with purpose. I watch her from the shadows of social media like a pathetic ghost. Every photo of her is radiant. She's cut her hair shorter, and it frames her face beautifully. She dresses with this quiet confidence that I never appreciated before. She's dating someone now, a professor of urban planning, age-appropriate, distinguished, the kind of man who probably asks about her day and means it. My daughters post constantly with her. Vacations to Greece, gallery openings, college graduations I wasn't invited to. They look happy. They look whole. They look like they forgot I exist. The indifference is what kills me. If Lydia hated me, if she raged against me, I could bear it. But she's moved on so completely that I'm not even worth her anger. I'm just a chapter she closed, a mistake she recovered from. And she's thriving. I've lost almost $600 million in total. Bad investments, settlements, a business that's barely holding on. I had to sell controlling shares in my own company. My health is shot, stress-induced heart problems, high blood pressure, insomnia. I rattle around this expensive penthouse alone, surrounded by things that cost a fortune and mean nothing. Last month, I attended an industry event. Lydia was the keynote speaker. I stood in the back, watching her command that room with grace and intelligence. She spoke about sustainable development, about building structures that serve communities, about using success to lift others. The audience was captivated. She got a standing ovation. And when she stepped down from that stage, she walked right past me, made brief eye contact, nodded politely like I was a stranger, and moved on. That moment broke something in me. I left the venue, sat in my car in an empty parking garage, and that's when it happened. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror and said out loud, "I'm an idiot." Then I said it again, louder, "I'm an idiot." And then I broke down completely, sobbing like a child, because the full weight of what I destroyed finally crushed me. I traded a queen for a jester, a partner for a parasite, a legacy for a temporary thrill. I had a woman who built me, who stood beside me, who gave me children and a home and a business empire. And I threw her away for someone who saw me as a wallet with legs. The grass wasn't greener on the other side. It was fake turf, and I was too arrogant to notice until I was bleeding on it. I'm in therapy now, trying to confront the ego and cowardice that destroyed my life. I write letters to my daughters that they don't read. I'm attempting to rebuild my business with actual ethics and integrity. But it's too late to rebuild what really mattered. The loneliness is profound. I watch Lydia's success from afar and feel pride mixed with unbearable loss. She didn't need me to be happy. She never did. But I needed her for everything, and I was too blind to see it. Last week, I attended my daughter Nia's graduate exhibition at an art gallery in Soho. I stood in a corner, hoping to go unnoticed. Lydia was there, of course, radiant in a burgundy dress, laughing with her partner and a group of friends. Our daughters orbited around her like she was the sun. When Nia gave a speech thanking everyone who supported her journey, she mentioned Lydia 3 times. She didn't mention me once. At one point, Lydia and I made eye contact across the gallery. Just for a moment, her eyes held no anger, no bitterness, no pain, just peace, contentment. She'd healed from the wound I'd inflicted. But my eyes, I know what she saw in them: regret, loss, the realization that I'd destroyed the best thing that ever happened to me. She smiled slightly, the way you might smile at an old acquaintance you barely remember and turn back to her conversation. I left before the exhibition ended, drove home, and sat in the dark for 3 hours. This is my life now, comfortable but empty, wealthy but worthless. I have money and possessions and nothing that matters. Lydia has love, purpose, respect, and peace. She won by letting me go. I lost by letting her go. And there's no fixing this. No grand gesture that will undo the damage. No amount of money that will buy back time or trust or love. Some mistakes you live with forever. This is mine. I'm an idiot who had everything and traded it for nothing. And karma? Karma didn't need to punish me. Watching Lydia thrive without me is punishment enough. If this story taught you anything, smash that like button right now. Leave a comment saying, "Don't take loyalty for granted," because I learned that lesson too late. Subscribe because karma always keeps receipts, and I've got more stories that prove it. Share this with someone who needs the reminder that the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's fake turf, and you'll pay the price for stepping on it. I did, and I'll spend the rest of my life paying for it.